Christmas night, 1996, Boulder, Colorado. A quiet neighborhood in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. Large homes, decorated with lights, sit beneath a blanket of snow. Families are sleeping after a day of celebration. Inside one house, on a quiet street, a 6-year-old girl is in her bed. Her name is JonBenét Ramsey. By morning, she will be gone, and a mystery will begin that has never been solved. This is the story of JonBenét Ramsey, a child beauty queen, found dead in her own home, 26 hours after her mother reported her missing. The case became one of the most famous unsolved murders in American history, not because of what was known, but because of what was not. Because nearly 30 years later, no one has been charged. No one has been convicted. And the question remains, who killed JonBenét Ramsey? JonBenét Patricia Ramsey was born on August 6, 1990, in Atlanta, Georgia. She lived in Boulder with her parents, John and Patsy, and her older brother, Burke, who was 9 years old. The family was wealthy, successful, admired. John owned a computer distribution company called Access Graphics. They lived in a large Tudor-style home on a tree-lined street. 15 rooms, 3 floors, a basement. From the outside, everything seemed perfect. The American dream, realized that JonBenét competed in child beauty pageants. She was crowned Little Miss Colorado, America's Royale, Mississippi. She wore makeup, elaborate costumes, tiaras. She performed on stage, smiling, waving, dancing. She was 6 years old. Some people admired it, the confidence, the poise. Others found it uncomfortable, disturbing even. A child made to look older, to perform, to be watched. But the Ramseys said she loved it, that she enjoyed the attention, the stage, the applause. That on December 25th, 1996, the Ramsey family celebrated Christmas at home. They opened gifts in the morning. Later, they attended a party at the home of friends, Fleet and Priscilla White. They returned home around 9:30 in the evening. JonBenét was tired, her mother said. Patsy carried her inside. She said she put her daughter to bed, still wearing the clothes from the party. The house was quiet. The lights were turned off. Everyone went to sleep. The next morning, their lives would change forever. December 26, 1996. Patsy Ramsey woke early, around 5:30 in the morning. The family was supposed to leave for their vacation home in Michigan. She went downstairs to the kitchen. On the spiral staircase, near the first floor, she found something. A handwritten note. 3 pages, lined paper. She began to read. It said JonBenét had been kidnapped. It demanded a ransom, $118,000, the exact amount of John Ramsey's recent bonus from his company. The note was long, detailed, strange. It warned the family not to call the police, not to tell anyone, or JonBenét would be killed. Patsy screamed. She called for John. And then, against the note's warning, she called the police. Officers arrived at the Ramsey home within minutes. They began to search the house, room by room. They found no signs of forced entry, no broken windows, no damaged locks, no footprints in snow outside. The doors had been locked. The ransom note was still on the stairs. JonBenét was not found. Police treated it as a kidnapping. They secured some areas of the house, but not all. They waited for ransom call. No call came. Hours passed. Friends and family began to arrive at the house. The Whites, the Fernies, a victim advocate, a minister. The house filled with people. They walked through rooms. They touched surfaces. They comforted the Ramseys. The crime scene, if it was a crime scene, was not fully secured. Evidence was being contaminated, but at the time, police still believed it was a kidnapping. They waited. They hoped by afternoon. The waiting had become unbearable. Police asked John Ramsey and his friend, Fleet White, to search the house again, to look for anything unusual, anything that might help. They walked through the main floors. Then they went to the basement. It was cluttered, unfinished, divided into several rooms, storage areas, a boiler room, a small wine cellar. John opened the door to the wine cellar, and he saw her. JonBenét was on the floor in the small, dark room. She was covered with a white blanket. There was duct tape over her mouth. A nylon cord was tied around her neck, attached to a wooden stick. A broken paintbrush handle. Her hands were bound loosely above her head. She was cold, stiff. She had been dead for hours. John Ramsey let out a sound. A scream, a cry. He tore the duct tape from her mouth. He picked her up. He carried her upstairs, into the living room. He laid her on the floor. Police were notified immediately. The kidnapping was now a murder investigation. The autopsy was performed the next day. The medical examiner found that JonBenét had been struck on the head with a heavy object. The blow fractured her skull. It caused bleeding in her brain. She had also been strangled with a garrote. The cord and stick found around her neck. There were abrasions on her face, her neck, marks on her wrists. There was evidence of chronic sexual abuse, though this was later disputed by other experts. The time of death was estimated to be between 10 p.m. on Christmas night and 2 a.m. on December 26th, hours before the ransom note was found, hours before police arrived. The case became national news almost immediately. A beautiful child, a wealthy family, a murder in the home on Christmas. It was sensational. Cameras lined the street outside the Ramsey house. Reporters camped on the lawn. The story dominated television, newspapers, magazines. The Ramsey family, grieving, overwhelmed, hired lawyers. They stopped cooperating fully with police. They gave limited interviews, and suspicion began to grow. Investigators focused their attention on the family. The ransom note was unusual, they said. It was too long, too detailed, too strange. It was written on paper from a notepad inside the house, with a pen from inside the house. The writer had taken time, had written a practice note first, found later in the trash. The amount demanded, $118,000, matched John Ramsey's bonus exactly. How would a kidnapper know that? The note referenced movies, action films. It used phrases that seemed rehearsed, theatrical, unnatural. Handwriting experts were consulted. Some said the note could have been written by Patsy Ramsey. Others disagreed. The debate went on for years. There was no sign of forced entry, no broken windows, no footprints in the snow. The doors were locked. Whoever killed JonBenét either had a key or was already inside. The house was large, 15 rooms, but the family was small. Police began to theorize. An accident covered up, a moment of rage, a parent who lost control, a sibling involved. But there was no clear evidence. No weapon was found. No confession. No clear motive. Just suspicion. The Ramsey family denied everything. They said an intruder killed JonBenét. Someone who entered the house unnoticed. Someone who knew the layout, who knew about the bonus. They pointed to evidence. Unidentified male DNA, found on JonBenét's underwear. Touch DNA, found on her long johns. It did not match any family member. It did not match anyone in any database. The family said this proved an intruder. Police said it could be contamination from the factory where the clothes were made, from someone who handled the clothes before they were worn. The debate continued. In 1999, a grand jury was convened. 12 citizens heard evidence for over a year. Witnesses testified. Documents were reviewed. In October 1999, the grand jury voted. They voted to indict John and Patsy Ramsey on charges of child abuse resulting in death and accessory to a crime. But the district attorney, Alex Hunter, refused to sign the indictment. He said there was not enough evidence to win at trial. The indictment was sealed, kept secret for years. The case remained open, unsolved. Patsy Ramsey died on June 24th, 2006, from ovarian cancer. She was 49 years old. She never saw the case resolved. She never knew who killed her daughter. In 2008, 2 years after her death, new DNA testing was conducted. Touch DNA, a more sensitive method, was used on JonBenét's clothing. The DNA matched the profile from her underwear. The district attorney at the time, Mary Lacey, sent a letter to the Ramsey family. She apologized. She said the DNA evidence supported the theory of an intruder. She officially cleared the family. But not everyone agreed. Some investigators, some detectives who worked the case, still believed the family was involved. Over the years, many theories emerged, spread, evolved. Some believed Patsy wrote the ransom note, that she accidentally killed JonBenét in a moment of rage, perhaps over bedwetting, a known issue, that she staged the scene to look like a kidnapping. Others believed Burke, JonBenét's 9-year-old brother, was involved, that a childhood incident, a fight, an accident, escalated, that the parents found JonBenét injured or dead and covered it up to protect their son. Still others believed an intruder entered the house, someone who knew the family, who had been inside before, who knew where JonBenét slept. But no theory could be proven. No evidence was definitive. Suspects were investigated, interviewed, cleared. A man named Bill McReynolds, who played Santa Claus at a Christmas party JonBenét attended days before her death. He died in 2002. He was never charged. A man named John Mark Carr confessed to the murder in 2006, claiming he was with JonBenét when she died. He was arrested in Thailand, extradited to the United States, but his DNA did not match. His confession was filled with inaccuracies. He was released. A teacher, a handyman, photographer, all investigated, all cleared or dismissed. The case remained cold. The Ramsey home on 15th Street in Boulder was sold in 1998. The new owners renovated it. The basement room where JonBenét was found was sealed, altered, made unrecognizable. The house changed hands several times. No one wanted to live in the place where a child had died. Eventually, it was purchased and remodeled so extensively that it no longer resembled the crime scene shown in photographs and documentaries in the public memory. John Ramsey remarried in 2011. He continued to speak about his daughter. He participated in documentaries, interviews, podcasts. He called for new DNA testing, for the use of genealogy databases, the same technology that solved the Golden State Killer case. He wanted the DNA from JonBenét's case uploaded to public databases to find familial match to identify the killer. Boulder police have resisted. They say the DNA may be contaminated, that it may not belong to the killer, that it could lead to false leads, wasted time. The debate continues. In recent years, interest in the case has surged again. Documentaries have been released. Streaming services have produced series examining the evidence, the theories, the mistakes. Social media has amplified old debates, created new ones. Armchair detectives analyze photographs, dissect timelines, argue over evidence they have never seen. The case has become a cultural phenomenon, a tragedy turned into entertainment, a child's death reduced to a mystery to be solved by strangers. The case of JonBenét Ramsey remains officially unsolved. Nearly 30 years have passed. Her killer has never been identified, never arrested, never tried. The Boulder Police Department says the case is still open, still active. Though little progress has been made in recent years. Theories persist. Documentaries are made. Podcasts dissect every detail, every piece of evidence, every misstep. But no definitive answer has emerged. What is known is this. A 6-year-old girl was killed in her home on Christmas night, 1996. Her body was found in the basement 26 hours after she was reported missing. A ransom note was left, 3 pages long, written on paper from the house. No one was ever charged. The family was suspected, cleared, suspected again. DNA evidence exists, but it is disputed. Some believe it points to an intruder. Others believe it is meaningless, contamination. The case is open, but it is cold. JonBenét Ramsey is remembered not for the 6 years she lived, but for the mystery that followed her death. She is remembered in pageant footage, smiling in costumes, performing. She is remembered in crime scene photographs, in autopsy reports, in endless speculation. She is remembered as a question that was never answered. Who killed her? Why? How did they enter the house? Why write a ransom note if she was already dead? Why demand $118,000, the exact amount of her father's bonus? Why use items from inside the house? The notepad, the pen, the paintbrush. The answers remain unknown. The case remains unsolved. And in Boulder, Colorado, on a quiet street, in a house that has been renovated, sold, changed, there is a memory of a Christmas night, of a little girl who did not wake up, of a family torn apart by tragedy and suspicion, of a case that captured the nation's attention and never let go. The story does not end here, because it has not ended. It continues in police files, in public speculation, in the hope that someday new technology, or a confession, or a forgotten piece of evidence will provide an answer. But until then, the case of JonBenét Ramsey remains what it has always been: a question, a tragedy, a mystery with no resolution, and a reminder that some stories do not have endings. Only silence, only waiting, only the cold, unresolved truth that justice sometimes never comes.